Stumbled upon JK'z Rewatchable Hour.
Or I hit record. Good. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is JDUBBS. We are here. We are doing a collaboration. This is JK'z Rewatchable Hour. As always, one of my guests for this show is Mr. John Palmer. Depending on how you're looking at your screen, down at the left bottom, we have Mr. Michael Richardson, aka MJ. He is the host and the creator of his very own podcast, Knowledge for Knowledge. That is K4K if you abbreviate it. How are you gentlemen doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Living the dream, Jeff. Every day, man.
Every day is a new day to, to make better than what you were the previous day.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, we're going to talk about mental health, which obviously John and I, we talk about. And obviously, MJ, you're very passionate about, mental health. I know that we spoke briefly just not even a month ago. And, I know that you're 20, so you're about half our age. Tell me, if you will, why you feel so strongly about mental health.
First of all, I appreciate you getting me on here, guys. I appreciate it a lot, showing a lot of love. But
appreciate you.
One of the reasons why I feel so strongly about mental health as like a man growing up in this world, I feel like mental health is such a big thing in this world. And I feel like it's something that is not necessarily undermined, but it's between two things, and there's no between. It's either very undermined or very overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? For me, I'm just trying to play the middle ground and letting people know that having a mental issue or, being mentally not okay for the day or, for the week or for the month, I'm just allowing people to be able to take that mental challenge and say that I am okay, or that I am aware that I'm not doing so good. And I'm also able to have a conversation with somebody and be open as a man, as a woman or man, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like not a lot of people get the chance to be naturally open to one another about what they're going through, you know what I'm saying? Because I might see John walking down the street past Eddie O'Brien's getting something to eat with whoever he's with, and face to face, I might say, John's all right, you know what I'm saying? But mentally, he might walk by me and be like a cry for help, you know what I'm saying? A lot of guys go through things that are mentally, you know what I'm saying? It's on you. It's mentally, you're not sure what they're going through, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of guys have to wear their wounds outside, or they got to, cover their wounds, you know what I'm saying? They can't really be too emotional in 2024, you know what I'm saying? Or, back in the day either. So that's just one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about mental health, because I just want to make people feel as comfortable in their own body as they should.
Absolutely. John, I told you he was light years ahead of, he's a very bright young man.
He is.
And so go ahead, John. Why don't you just give the reason why you are so passionate about mental health?
I think, as we've spoken on this platform before, Jeff, kind of like MJ said earlier, in today's society, we don't really know what other people are going through. I think as men in general, and Jeff, I think you and I can attest to this because of our age and our maturity. But when we were growing up and we were, MJ's age, we were always taught to suck it up and deal with it, move on from things, just don't talk about it. Don't worry about it, and now I think this mental health platform and concern has just been heightened probably by 1,000-fold, just with what we see in the news every day, what we read. So, mental health is key. I think, I've been in some situations in the past where my mental health has been tested, and some situations haven't been good. Other situations, I've been able to overcome them. But again, we don't know what everybody's going through. I could walk by both of you on the street, like MJ said, you're smiling, you're happy, and as a person, I think, hey, they've got life great. There's nothing wrong with them, but we internalize a lot. We don't. I don't think men as a whole have strong enough support groups to be able to open up to. whether it's other men, whether it's their spouse, whether it's whoever. I still think, as one of the things we talked about, Jeff, is just there needs to be more resources out there to be able to, tell people, men and women, it's okay to not be okay. Nobody's perfect. We were, obviously being very spiritual, we were all made in God's eyes. So, we all fall short to the glory of God is what I kind of look at. So I know I'm not perfect. I know I wasn't made perfect, but I strive to be as close to that every day. And if I can help other people do it, that's really what we're here for on this platform.
So, question, John, so I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeff.
You're good. You're fine. Go ahead.
About how, growing up, when you're my age, obviously I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask, but you said growing up, you weren't able to show your emotions. And you also made a point about how you feel like we as men probably need a resource to be able to open up about that. My question to you is, right, not really a question, I have a statement. I'm 20 years old, right? And I go to school. I want to be like I'm going to school for psychology to be able to do things like this for a living. You know what I'm saying? But my overall goal for the overall, like my overall endpoint, I guess you could say, is I want to make an app called Knowledge for Knowledge, or Knowledge, where it allows people to go on there anonymously and allow themselves to read other standpoints of life. For example, for you, John and Jeff, you guys are, I would assume, around the same age. Am I correct?
Yep.
So I assume you guys are around the same age. So you guys would be, if you'd want to, you could be in the same category of age rank. Because I'm gonna rank it between, like, for me, it's gonna be like a 5-year age difference. So you're gonna go on there, you're gonna register like, oh, my name is John Palmer, my name is Jeff, my name is Michael Richardson, and I have lately been dealing with anxiety. You know what I'm saying? So where the difference between me and you is, you would be going as people your age, and I'd be going as people my age. And so this resource that I'm going to build for people is going to be an online kind of subscription kind of thing that allows you to go on there instead of going to an actual psychologist or looking up symptoms. Because I feel like at the end of the day, one thing I used to struggle with anxiety was I would go on social media, or I would go on, not social media, I'd go on Google, and I would look at my symptoms, and it would tell me that I was having a heart attack. It would tell me that I'm schizophrenic. It would tell me that I'm, something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Nothing that it's normal. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm allowing myself to do that I want to do is I want to build an app that allows men and women or whatever you are to go on there and allow yourself to read experiences between one another. So for example, my name is John Palmer. Today, I feel like I'm going through bad anxiety. I'm going through a bad divorce. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling mentally. And almost like Reddit or Twitter, or, not necessarily like those apps, but it's going to be like kind of my own perspective of those apps, where you can read other people's perspectives, where instead of going on Google and looking at the systems, it's going to tell you that, some people go through divorces, or some people go through this anxiety. It's a part of life. You know what I'm saying? It's going to give you those examples and allow you to kind of feel that comfortable of opening up, and it's going to allow you to feel safe and make you feel not so crazy, where instead of having to go to the doctor or go to the psychologist and get those medicated drugs that make you a little more addicted, or make you a little bit more like you really need it, you know what I'm saying, where necessary, where it's like I said, there's either a underwhelming or a overwhelming, where this knowledge for knowledge comes in. It's the middle, where it allows you to feel like, maybe I can take the step back and be okay, or let me take the step forward and get some serious help. That's why I'm allowing to have people to get more resources. So let me know what you think about that.
I think that's, so basically, like, so somebody could log on, and it would be almost something like they could read something that other people can relate to what they just wrote. Is that a fair way of saying it? I don't want to take away.
Say that again. I didn't hear you first time.
Okay, so say like I log on, like, just had a really bad day. I'm having anxiety. I had a bad day at work. Whatever. Somebody else could see that and be like, hey, maybe you just. It's like somebody could write back in a relating manner. Is that like what you're trying to say?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is allow people to just go on this app and allow you to share what you're going through with people, and allowing you to share like the same symptoms that you have. You know what I'm saying? It's going to put you in a category of like not just all anxiety, but like say you're going through anxiety. It's going to allow you to kind of share the same symptoms that you have with other people and all that. But it's also going to allow you to personally, anonymously connect with people, or, you know what I'm saying? It's going to, if you're allowed,
That's awesome.
thing, it's going to allow you to know who it is. It's going to allow you to know what they're going through. And it's basically just giving that one-on-one experience, you know what I'm saying? Without open up one-to-one. It's going to be an online thing where it's like, let me just connect. I need to, you know what I'm saying, feel a little bit of relief or comfortability what I'm going through.
Absolutely. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. You know, being able to have, you know, that perspective from someone MJ's age. You know, obviously, us being our age, Jeff, we may not have thought about creating an app and being able to do that. You know, just because I think he's more connected to where the world is now than we are.
Yeah.
But it's almost like being able to, you know, reach out to a resource and not really have instant connection, but being able to not have to wait for an appointment to go see somebody or talk to somebody, this and that. So, you know, I think it's a great idea to be able to create something like that because, as MJ said, I think as people and as society, we are our own worst critics when it comes to a lot of different things. The way we think, the way we speak about ourselves. You know, it's funny. I watched a video, I think a couple weeks ago, and it was a guy basically saying, if I spoke to myself, or if I spoke to you the way I spoke to myself, you would absolutely not want to be my friend, just because we're so hard on ourselves throughout critical situations in our lives. But being, you know, going on Google and self-diagnosing yourself is probably one of the worst things you can do, because then you just get your mind spinning about all these things that quote unquote could be wrong with you or you could be diagnosed with. Where if somebody can actually have a platform to, you know, share how they're feeling, what they're going through, and then be able to have other people, like MJ said, you know, be able to respond and say, hey, I've been there, I felt this way, you know, give them that positive reinforcement, encouragement, whatever they need to kind of get them through what they're dealing with at that point. You know, I think it's a good idea.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You know, I just want to take the app a little bit farther. So when John and I were growing up, you know, like I'll just give you that. So if you played backyard football, you know, you could not play tackle, because if not, then you'd be hazed, you'd be made fun of. I mean, we all did it. We're all guilty. And back in the day, we really didn't have any place to turn to express ourselves, because when we were growing up, it wasn't allowed. It was frowned upon. And when I was listening to the way MJ was explaining it, this day and age, everything is online. It's on a phone. It's on a computer. It's on a tablet. It's on the radio. Imagine the importance. And, you know, John, we always talk about, you know, our platform, how important it is for you and me. And I know MJ has a ton of people behind his back, or it's got his back. But imagine somebody who's having a bad day could just log on, and men, women, whatever, and be like, you know, they have nowhere to turn, right? Because we talk about how many people don't have what some of us have, and they could go and they could go onto this app and be like, you know, and maybe just talk to somebody and not feel alone, and feel like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's one of my shirts that I have is it's okay to not be okay. And when I was listening to each of you talk, you know, I was just thinking about why mental health is important to me. Because so growing up, I was not ashamed or embarrassed, but like, you know, I grew up with like not a lot of money, and I wasn't the smartest, I wasn't the whatever. And so me speaking up or defending myself, it was, you know, I couldn't do it. I could not find words. And so I was a huge follower. Whatever this person was doing, I'm going to do it because that's cool. But now it's like, you know, John and I, you know, we talk, and, you know, yes, people, John and I, we did a show about this, about yes, people. Like, you know, you ever be around people that no matter what they do, somebody's always like, yeah, you're fine. You just go ahead and do it. I want to be around some no people like, hey, why are you doing this? This is wrong. This is not who you say you are. You know, does that make sense to you, MJ?
Yeah, it makes 100%. It makes 100% a lot of sense, because I want to be around people that are going to help me achieve my goals. I want to be around people that are going to help me be better. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people aren't going to do that. A lot of people are going to, you know, be kind of fake, or not necessarily fake, but just, you know, push you away because they're not really happy with maybe where they're at. So I try to be around people. I'm trying to be surround myself with a lot of people that are like-minded and that are going to tell me, you look suspect right now, or you're not doing the right thing, or maybe you could work harder. As less more people I want to be around.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to one thing I learned a long time ago is you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most. So, it's key that you get around people that are like-minded and are where you want to be in life. I had a few mentors that came into my life probably 10, 15 years ago that really taught me a lot of things and how to live life the way that they did. And because I saw the lifestyle, the quote unquote rich lifestyle without the money aspect that they lived, whether it was spiritually, whether it was mentally, physically. But the first thing that came into my mind when MJ was, and you were talking a few minutes ago is, I think MJ, you had mentioned, people in the younger generation that are on social media where they're, potentially portraying one particular type of life or way, and then they're something else, or they're different at home than they are on the screen, whatever. It brings me back to the verse of James 1:8 is a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So when people don't have a singular thought, a singular mindset on being able to do something, the stability in life can vary for that person.
Right. All right, man. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I have a question. So like I had said, we don't always have an itinerary, but throughout the day, I think of stuff to say. So I know there's a huge age difference, but the three of us are on this show for one cause, which I absolutely respect. I know that at almost 50, I'm finding a few more people that, guys that want to talk, which 20 years ago it never would have happened. There's just not a lot, and that's okay. I don't believe that you should rush somebody. I think everybody has their own time that they will step forward and want to talk. MJ, at your age, is there a lot of men or women that open up and talk about mental health, or is it still like, oh God, I can't talk about that because I'm going to get laughed at?
I would say there's a lot of that's a good question. I say there's a lot of bit of both. There's a lot of people there's a lot of uncovered truths, and there's a lot of people that hide behind their truths, and there's a lot of people that are really open about things on social media or just like in life in general. Excuse me. I run into a lot of conversation with people that like for me, I run into weird conversations with people when I get to just meet them. I like somehow mental health comes up, and then start talking about the podcast. You just talk about a lot of things, and a lot of people can just be open, but a lot of it has to be things that you reach out for rather than somebody else be open. So as a person that's a mental health advocate and someone that has a podcast and someone that's trying to be, a content creator in the mental health thing, I realized that a lot of people, you have to try to like unlock the code and get out that mental health with consent, with being able to have that conversation. But I would say that it's about a 50-50, I would say more, in my personal opinion, I would say more women to girls or young girls are a lot more open about mental health than a lot of guys. Some guys are kind of like sneaky with it, if that makes sense. They'll try to throw a little blank out and see where that goes. But if it doesn't hit the right target audience, it's gonna go somewhere else and start talking about toughness and all that. And I feel like that's a thing that needs to change. I feel like being able to, not necessarily like, I would say cry and be open and just be aware that, it's okay to not be okay. Like, every day is not going to be sunshines and rainbows, and every day is going to be great. Not every day is going to be a smile and happiness. But I just try to allow people to know that, it's okay to be weak and allow to yourself to be, open about what you're going through as a man.
I couldn't agree more. And John, I know you have a thought. I just want to, because I get forgetful. You
Sure.
said like maybe some guys, throw one out there, and if it's not the right atmosphere, they don't open up. And I think, John, and you and I have talked about that many times. Like, I think it takes the surrounding for a person to feel comfortable. And I think that that's a message that we try to spread is, we have our own group messages, and, we put it out there that you're safe with us. And with what MJ was saying, I think that I truly believe, like, it shouldn't matter. If you need to talk to somebody, there's somebody within reach. I truly believe that there's somebody within reach. And I can say that because after 20 some years, John Palmer and I reconnected on social media, and here we are becoming great friends. I refer to him as my brother. We talk every day. I knew MJ. I didn't know of him, but I knew him. Met him 3 weeks ago, and here we are doing, we're doing a collaboration for both our podcasts. We're trying to get the meaning out. So there is somebody within reach. It just like, obviously, if you don't feel comfortable, I just saw all the thumbs up. If you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to talk. But like, whoever watches this video, because I'm going to tag both of you as I always do, you're safe with any of us, and that's one of the things that John and I have talked about immensely is the comfort level. And John, I know that you had something to say. I just wanted to get that out there before I forgot.
No, I think the number one word that comes to my mind is just trust. Being able to confide and be vulnerable. Jeff, as you know, in our group, or as a man, being able to be vulnerable and confide in other men and as a resource, I think you have to be able to build trust with that person. Because once they feel that trust is built, then I think they're going to be more comfortable being able to open up about a lot of things. As Jeff, I think you and I can attest to, one person in our group, just in the group chat today, is still, hesitant to talk about certain things that they've been through, and that's okay. There's always a time, place to be able to share your story, and I truly believe it's God's timing. He'll be able to share his story when he's ready about what he went through, because at that time he'll be able to impact another person that will hear that story and be like, oh my God, I went through that. And he came out on the other side. So I think it's just all a timing thing, but just being able to build trust, have that circle of valuable relationships and deep rooted relationships with other people is huge, because again, getting in a group of like-minded people and just being around other people, it's infectious, as you can probably attest to the other day, Jeff, when you guys were just sitting there for 20 minutes talking, you kind of feed off each other. And it's a good thing to be able to do that, but also to be able to be a resource to somebody to say, hey, it's not only me, I've got other people that have potentially been through what you have been through, and I'm sure they might be able to help you, but it's on their time frame. It's when they're ready to be able to disclose that and talk about it. As Jeff said, we don't push anybody. We don't press anybody, because the one thing that I kind of mentioned to Jeff a while ago, and it's a little different, but pushing somebody, it's like, we talked about advice and giving advice the one time, Jeff, a few episodes ago, for certain things, and I was taught unasked for advice is criticism. So being able to push somebody to share a story or do things to a certain way may not make that person feel comfortable. But I also think we have to be that friend that when somebody is trying to achieve something or doing something, we should be able to love them enough to call them out and say, hey, you know what, that may not be the right thing, or you should try this, or be able to do that to really help that person grow. You don't want to help that person stay in the same thing that they're doing, or just staying where they are in life and not helping them grow out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely. One of the things that you had said, the trust, when I reached out to MJ and he's like, hey, I'll come on, yeah. I'm like, yeah, just want to let you know that it's absolutely respectful. We're not going to pressure you. I think what I was just trying to do for MJ was to let him know that, hey, whatever you may share is out of respect. And I wanted your comfort level to be, at an all-time high. So, because I think it does take a lot to come on any social media platform. This is going to go to bunch of other, YouTube and Facebook. And I wanted MJ, even though I do know him and I know the family, I still was like him as a person. I wanted to make sure that he was all good, he was all set, that whatever he decided to share, that it was completely out of respect. And I think that's where the trust factor comes in. I think if I would have gone over to MJ that day on the deck, like, hey, what's up, dude? Hey, I hear you got a podcast. Hey, you want to do something? No, I went over, I'm like, hey, Mike, how you doing? We started talking. First thing I asked him was, what's your podcast about? And he told me. I was instantly hooked, and we just started talking and exchanged numbers, social media, and but I think trust is a very, very important aspect, especially when you're going to talk to somebody.
Absolutely. John, question. You made
Sure.
a comment. You made it like a word statement. You said you use the word vulnerability, and you have a friend, or you guys have a friend that won't open up. So my question to you is, right, would you say that in this relation, not relationship, in this situation, are you more vulnerable opening up, or would you consider that as a strength, being able to open up to someone?
Ooh.
I think it depends on what that person, how they view it, what their perspective is on it. When I was younger, I think if somebody was vulnerable and opened up and quote unquote cried or showed weakness or anything like that, I think, Jeff, you can agree, when we were 20, 22 years old, we probably would have laughed at that person and said, oh, that guy is just a chump or whatever. Today I feel vulnerability is more of a strength, because there's not a lot of people show how vulnerable they are. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot for someone to be able to come out and, when they share their story, to be vulnerable. But that vulnerability, I think, is what draws other people to the story, to say, hey, if they are sharing their story, I'm going through that same thing. I felt that same way. I did this, whatever. So I'm not the only person. I'm not alone. There's other people to be able to do that. So today, because and Jeff can probably attest to this, as we've matured and we're older, we realize that vulnerability, to me, in my mind, is actually a strength, to be able to open up and to be able to share certain things with people. And like I've said before, we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. But what do we do from them? Do we learn from them? Do we get better from them? Or do we just say, whatever, and then just keep going on with our lives?
Yeah. That was a great question, MJ. And as I was listening to John, I was actually thinking what my opinion would be. Is it a weakness, or is it strength? One of the things that we don't do on this show, we just, unless it's a positive thing, we don't mention names. But one of our friends, it took a tremendous amount of strength for him to come forward with some stuff in our group chat. And he said it's because of the way, you people are. We have some female friends in our group. And I was thinking, as John was talking about, our friend, I think it's just like John said. I think it's strength, and I think it's courage. I mean, especially, as guys. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to truly get the stigmata of being too macho away, but to be able to talk, to say, hey, listen, I'm not right. I have this, or I'm feeling this. I think that takes courage and strength. And our friend waited 30, 40 some years to be able to get stuff off his chest. And because of the trust that he had with us, I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength, and I don't think you can put a price on that.
To add on to that, right? I made a post the other day. It's about how people are the same and how some people are different. And you, as two guys that are around the same age, my question to you is, or not a question or a statement, is, would you say that men in your age or men in my age necessarily are too afraid to be different, or that's why they don't necessarily open up? Because I have like a thing in my head where I laugh at people because people laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at everybody because they're same. You know what I'm saying? As a man, I can open up and be all right with opening up. Because, for example, like I open up to my father all the time, or he'll open up to me about things, about iron sharpen iron, or we sharpen each other, you know what I'm saying? Because I have that connection with him and my mom, where I feel like I'm able to open up about things that I'm, you know what I'm saying, going through, or I have a question, you know what I'm saying? I asked some pretty crazy questions to my mom and dad, you know what I'm saying? But would you say that people are too afraid, and maybe your age or just in general, to be different because society allows people to not necessarily be different? Is that, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I wouldn't say
Go ahead, John.
I mean, the first thought that just popped into my mind is, I don't think people are necessarily afraid. I just think people, again, and this is my thoughts and just kind of thinking out loud, is I think people get to a certain age and they become complacent and they just become happy with their thoughts and what they do. And they don't really care potentially about, change. I think the younger generation today, I think they're more concerned with, especially on social media, their image, their brand, whatever they're trying to create and become out there. So I think somebody of our age, not to say that it can't, they can't come forward, but I just think a lot of people become complacent and they get in their comfort zone where they're just like, oh, I don't want to bother that person, or well, they don't want to hear my all the stuff going on with me or whatever, this and that. That's just kind of the first initial thought that popped into my head with especially somebody our age range. I don't know about you, Jeff.
I'm just going to piggyback off what you were just saying, and speaking from somebody who's been on both sides, I never wanted to change because I settled. I get up, go to work, make this amount. Okay, well, I can pay enough, just enough of the bills, and I might have X amount of money left over. Okay, cool. It wasn't until I'll share my story with Mike, and I see his dad's looking on. It wasn't until 2016. My mom got sick, and I was starting to change my life around. She passed away. I took a lot of just grief because I didn't get a chance to make up with her. But I had a couple people in my corner, people who reached out and said, "Hey, there's a different way of doing life." And I thought of doing things differently, but I was just like, I got everything covered now. Why do I have to be better? But once I changed my mindset, things started like blossoming better for me. I mean, it took 7-8 years, but you got to take baby steps before you can run. And I was writing down some notes when I was listening to John and MJ. I think one of the biggest things for people is change. I think people are like, I get up every day, so I'm okay. But and I just think change scares people. Like if people, I have conversations with people at work, and I'm like, if you just do this a little differently, and they are the still people, the still complainers, the still not doing anything, and I just think change is huge for people. Like if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to listen to learn, you'll never get out of that stage that you're in. And I'm speaking from experience. Had I have never gone through that really dark time just a few short years ago, I would not be here, and I would not be thinking as positive as I do. So I think I think for people, I think it's just change. That's just speaking from experience. I could be wrong. I don't know. Mike, what's your take on it?
Hey, how you doing, fellas?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
How you doing, John?
Doing well, thank you.
I'm only gonna jump in because he mentioned us being around the same age group as far as like being scared. I don't think scared is the word. I think when we all grew up we all pretty much in the same age group, it was just the temperature and the climate of how we was raised, to where we wasn't really raised to be in tune with our feelings. It was more like you had to be like a toughness.
Yep.
So as we grew older, I mean, for myself, what made me want to be in tune with my emotions was fatherhood. Because, when you raised, you wouldn't want your kids to go through something that you went through or endure anything that you endured, or feel anything that you felt. So that made me want to be more self-aware with myself and to make sure that MJ, as him being my son, my junior, that I always did a feelings check. MJ, are you okay? Sometimes to the point where he was a little complaint, like, yo, why you keep asking me if I'm okay? But just knowing that us, the way we grew up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't really have people checking on us as far as like our emotions and our feelings. We was just left to fend, not left to fend for ourselves, because our mothers and our fathers was present for the most part, but they wasn't present as far as like with checking on how we felt. Because you know the fathers, any one of our fathers has to be like at least 70, 80, and they're like a little bit more old school. So their mental toughness and this just the way that they carry themselves wasn't really in tune to check on how are you doing and stuff. Like they might ask you how was school, or you know what I'm saying, how do you feel? Or the only time you really was asked about how you feel is when you was sick or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
No, that's actually it's a perfect point. I mean, you're right. We're all around the same age, and I'm sure for me, I didn't have a dad growing up. And the people that did, what's that?
I didn't mean to. I said I didn't have a.
Oh no.
Dad. I didn't have a present dad. I had a dad, but he wasn't present.
Right. No. And the people who did try to reach out to me, I didn't know how to handle it. So
exactly.
But like, I mean, John and I, we grew up in the same town. We used to play backyard football. We used to play baseball. But, when we were growing up, as we had stated earlier, if you got hurt or if you weren't good enough, you were made to feel less of an individual. 100%. And I know all of those times it kept me down. And when I did get the courage to speak up and stand up for myself, it was like I was lashing out like, oh, I'm the problem. And then I started listening to all the little bees, I don't remember where I read that, but it was like, they call it the bees. They just hear you buzzing around. And I started to believe that, like, okay, so I'm the problem. Like I had said earlier, it took me 4 decades to figure out, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. I just made stupid mistakes. And I am a better person. And I have great people such as John in my life. What we try to do on the show is we do a lot of goofy stuff, but when we do a show like this, it really is to tell people who watch this, it's okay to not be okay. We don't care who you are. Mental health does not discriminate against anybody or anything. It will hit you, and it will. I hate to steal a line from Rocky V, but it will beat you down and keep you there if you let it. And men need to know that it's okay to reach out. There's somebody within an arm's length. I'm telling you. A perfect example. I'll go back to when I saw MJ on the deck. I didn't know he had a podcast, but I started talking to him. And the moment he said mental health in his conviction and how strong he was using his words, I'm like, I feel a connection. I feel safe. I feel like, hey, listen, I can trust you. And we just started talking, even though I met him a handful of times prior. But, I think that, as men, it's okay to talk. And you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be, oh, man, somebody's going to make fun of me. Because you're safe with me. I don't care. Your character is what matters to me. And if I can help somebody, because many people help me along my way, I'm just trying to help as many people as I can.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I learned a thing, and sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I learned a thing. I forgot what I learned. I think it might have been TikTok or something like that. I like to say what I've learned from like a book or something, but most of the time I'm learning it from the internet. But I learned something where it was like you never stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest. You know what I'm saying? Like you said earlier about how the bees buzz, you know what I'm saying? As you started to learn that you're a problem, you know what I'm saying? You can never stop those things from flying over your head. You never stop them things from going through your head or passing through, but you can stop that from building up, you know what I'm saying? One thing I was going through, I had this word, I had the word kill stuck in my head. Rather, I never was going to kill myself or kill anybody, you know what I'm saying? Not to throw that out there, but I was struggling with the word kill. And my father and my grandma Sterling, my dad would tell me that you can't, as long as you don't water the plant, it won't grow. And my grandma would say, you got to combat your negative thoughts with 3 positive thoughts, you know what I'm saying? So you kept saying yourself, yo, I started to believe that I was a problem, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know how you battled through it, but you started to just kind of just assume that at the end of the day, you were the problem. But for me at 20 years old, before this was when I was going through 18, I didn't think I was going to be here today. July 22nd, 2024. I didn't think I was going to be the man that I am today. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful that I am here today. But I try to just say that with those things that I'm going through, it makes me who I am. It makes me a lot 10 times stronger. You know what I'm saying? And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So in this standpoint, and today I try to make myself 1% better every single day that I can, rather that's in the gym, working with the kids that I work with at camp, that's being a more family member, or later down in life, matter that's me being a father, or me making money. You know what I'm saying? And I just try to be someone that I try to be me, but I try to be me a lot better each day. So as I've gotten older, older, I started to realize that the word kill, instead of using it negatively, I use it positively. So throughout the day, if I have a bad thought, I go back to when I was mentally messed up. And I tell myself day in that, you know what, today, instead of using the word kill in a bad standpoint, I'm going to use it in a good standpoint. Rather, it was like, earlier when I was going through the bad stuff, I say, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm doing bad. I'm thinking the word kill. Like, someone thinks the word kill, you think horrible things. But in this standpoint, in today's age, I think a kill as a motivation, as a foundation for myself. So I say today and at work, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do really good. I'm going to make sure I'm successful. I went through my sophomore year of college saying I'm going to kill it. I went through my sophomore year of playing hockey. I'm going to kill it. And through all those things that I was battling at the prime time of my anxiety, I told myself I'm going to kill it. I ended up batting .477 in baseball as a freshman, starting on a college team. And I end up building my own podcast. Not a lot of people can say they did that. Not a lot of people can say they built their own t-shirts. Not a lot of people can say they got on here with Jeff, John. They got on there with Ben Alberts that I do, or Coach Jimmy Johnson. You know what I'm saying? It's not about where you started, about where you're going. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you are compassionate and you allow yourself to trust yourself and build yourself, there's so many things you could go. You know what I'm saying? I tell my people all the time, if you take all that time that you invest into other people and you invest it to yourself, God only knows where the world would be at today. If you put all that time you put into somebody else and you put it back into yourself, who knows what type of person you'd be? You could be next to Bill Gates. And a lot of people forget that actors like Tom Cruise, rich people like Bill Gates, people like Bill Nye the Science Guy, whoever you think, Mike Tyson, they had to lose to get to where they're at. Nobody won every single time. And a lot of people just forget that during this process of getting to where they want to be you have to lose, and you have to go through adversity, and you have to go through, excuse my language, fucked up things in order to be who you want to be. And it's going to take some time, but so I was rambling, but you know what I'm saying?
You're good.
As long as you know what I'm saying? As long as you just be better than who you were yesterday, or be better than the person you were last year or 7 years ago, Jeff, when you were going through, that's all that matters. Tomorrow we got Tuesday. Let's wake up tomorrow, Tuesday, as a 10 times better man and woman.
Absolutely. I just want to just share with you the reason why I'm on this journey. So how I got out of my little dark tunnel, I had two guys reach out to me, and this is what started my journey. And they just said, hey, we've been there. What can we do? Neither of them said, hey, listen, stop being a bitch. They were just like, they would text me.
I didn't mean that.
Now we open it up. That's real shit, Jeff. That's real shit. What you just say? You know what I'm saying?
But they never did. And I mean, I know, like I threw people to the side throughout my life because I just wasn't ready for it. But these two individuals, really, they just said, listen, what can we do? And John, just the other day, we had a group message that we sent, and everybody in our group message was like, our mindset is, what can we do? And like MJ was saying, when he was saying, he had a bad day at work, he was going to kill it, make it better. One of the things that I use every day is my mindset. John has said that 1,000 times. I can't recite everything else he ever says, but mindset is very key. And when I was listening to you, MJ, you said that at age 18, you were doing this, but now 2 years later, because of your mindset, you are where you are, and you're going to be where you're going to be because of your mindset. John, I know you have something to add. I just wanted to get that in there, just so I think it's just really important that why we do this is because of where we came from to where we are now. And I'm not embarrassed anymore to say that, hey, I was so down that I missed so much of my life, and it took two guys to get me out of my funk. So you go ahead, John.
No, I'm actually was making notes here with you guys speaking over the last few minutes. So, just to kind of touch on what MJ was saying with what he's doing and the term he was using now is killing it and everything he's doing. The the thing that popped into my mind is MJ, you're living your life with intentionality. It's intentional living day in and day out. So, and that's key. That's something I learned from a mentor of mine a while ago. Is everything you do with some sort of intention to be better, get better, think better, whatever. Like you were saying, you want to be 1% better every day. John Maxwell wrote a book years ago called Intentional Living. It's a great read, but basically that's what it boils down to is make every decision you make on a daily basis, make with intentionality, because it's getting you closer to your goal, whatever you want to, in whatever aspect you're doing, whether it's baseball, podcast, school, whatever. And like the second note I wrote down was when you were talking about, being there for others and giving to others. The one thing that I kind of talk with a lot of people about is for us to be able to help other people and to give to other people, we have to fill our cup first, because if we don't fill our cup, it can't overflow and we can't give it to other people. So being able to have our mindset in the right frame of mind and do what we need to do to better ourselves first and fill our cup, then will help us take that to other people and be able to impact and affect those other people in a positive way.
Yep. And, just with that, so when two of my closest friends broke me down, not intentionally, they just were like, hey, what can we do? I don't know what came over me that day. And, it was a post by one of my friends. And I just remember being on the floor and I was just crying because I'm like, I think I finally just broke. And I think from that point, like, is when I turned around my life. And it was actually kind of easy to start talking. And that goes back to the whole trust in your surroundings. And, and what we do, John, and I know what MJ does on Knowledge for Knowledge and what he does in his life. I just think like people need to know our story. Like, if I just told, MJ about John's story, he'd be like, okay, but I'm hearing it from a third person, but I think when people tell their stories from their heart and they don't bullshit and they don't be like, oh yeah, I was only making, I had 50 cents in my bank account. Now I have 10 grand every month. That's not what they're gonna want to hear. Like, it took two of my friends just reaching out and me breaking down to get me to the point where I am now. And like when MJ was talking about where he was 2 years ago to where he is now. And John, I know he doesn't know your whole complete story, but where you were at one time in your life to where you are now, I just go back to the whole mindset. It's either you want change or you don't. You're either going to complain, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm not. This is not going towards him. It's speaking from experience. You're either going to complain because nothing's getting better, or you're going to make changes to make it better.
Yep. And it goes back to Tony Robbins had a quote years ago, and he said, change happens when the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of actual change. So, you're going to get to a point where you're going to get complacent and stay the same. And you're going to finally get to that low point like you experienced, Jeff, where you were, potentially on your knees, you were breaking down, you were crying. Mm-hmm. And then finally something came over you where you were just like, wow, now I can open up. I can release it. Cause I think, again, we always talk about certain things. But I feel like that might've been God's timing in you to say, hey, I'm done with that part of my life. I've released it. I've let it go. And now I can move on with the rest of my life and being able to do something that I want to do. And really go that realm.
Absolutely, yo.
Yep. So I have a question for you, MJ, if you don't mind me asking.
Go ahead.
So I guess obviously you've got this Knowledge for Knowledge podcast. You want to develop this app. It sounds like you're doing a lot of great things to be able to impact the whole mental health movement. Was there a certain, I guess, occurrence or thing that happened in your life, or where, what was the kind of the backstory of, creating the podcasts? Is it just to be able to help other people and reach out to other people?
So one thing that I would base it off three key things in my life, but the main thing that began that word, what main thing that started it all was in about August of 2022. I was going through some really bad anxiety that I never really, what I'm saying? I was a kid that grew up with a lot of anything that I really needed. I grew up with a dad. I grew up with my mom. I grew up a very popular kid in high school. And I was just like, I went to Ithaca College early on, and I think I lasted till like October, November, something like that. Maybe I lasted till October, and I like I said, I couldn't get the word "kill" out of my mind. John and Jeff, I not that I was gonna harm myself or harm anyone. I couldn't get that mind. It was mentally like, yo, why am I doing things, to the point where I couldn't even play video games. I couldn't watch certain movies because I was like, damn, yo, this shit is really bothering me. But I never went to a psychologist. I never went to anybody about it. I went to my mom. I went to my dad and my grandma and all that stuff. And I learned things on Instagram where it was like, peace begins with me. And I practiced stuff like that all the time. But overall, I started it because I was going through something. And I started to feel like, not that I was crazy, but I was like, there's no way in hell no one else is feeling this way. You know what I'm saying? So I started to open up, and I created a private story with other people to share their, what type of books do they read? What type of things do they do to help their better life? What type of workouts do you do? And I had shout out Owen Sellers and shout out Scout Warning, I believe was one of them. One of my classmates, I graduated, they sent me books and stuff to read, and it just started to expand and blow up. And God bless the dead, but I lost my grandfather in 2016, and he was one of my, like, a father figure to me other than my father. So I had, like, I never felt like alone, but like losing like a best friend, it always felt like I kind of, like, I don't know how to explain it to you. I felt like I was like, I've always wanted to do things a certain way. And I've always wanted to, instead of, like you said earlier, fill my cup first. I've always wanted to fill my family members' cups first. And losing somebody's cup that I wanted to fill to the brim was really like, dang, like it kind of hurt me. And so this day I'm still recovering. And in December of this year, I lost my great grandmother, my best friend. And I made promises to these people that one day that I would be this huge, like, content creator. That I'd be this huge, like, person in life that's going to change our lives for the better. And losing these people and going through these things and having these different setbacks in life made me ultimately realize that I need to start living my life. I need to start making decisions for myself that are going to benefit me for the best. And it's going to ultimately make me this overall better person. And during those things that I was going through, I just honestly started Knowledge for Knowledge. And to this day, I'm not going to say it's highly successful, but I believe that one day that it'll be one of the best things that have ever been created.
That's awesome. And I just have to commend you for having the self-awareness as a 18-year-old or 19-year-old when that happened to you, to be able to seek that, read the resources of help. Because I commend my youngest daughter for that. She's 15 and she's very self-aware with a lot of different things. I see a lot of other kids her age that don't have that self-awareness to be able to pull themselves out of situations or look back, step back from a situation and have different perspective on that. So, I commend you greatly for having the self-awareness to be able to recognize that and kind of be where you're at today. Because I made a post a while ago. Oh my gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years now, but and I learned this from a mentor is back when social media started its height, in a world full of selfies, there's very little self-awareness. Right. So, I think self-awareness is key in a lot of people to, know that, hey, I'm not feeling right. I'm not, this is off. This is not me. What do I do? Where do I go? How can I actually get myself better instead of just trying to cover it up per se and hide behind it.
Right.
That's an excellent point, because That's how I lived most of my life. I mean, as you were talking, I'm thinking about how I was going to piggyback off that. I used to hide behind everything, and that's why I was such a follower. Um, it's just crazy, just where you start, and where we are now. And I agree with John. I mean, 18 years old. You know what I was doing when I was 18 years old, MJ? You probably don't want to know, but no, I was out partying. I was living a rock and roll lifestyle. I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. And here you are at 18 years old, which, absolutely. I was telling John, this young man is light years ahead. So yeah, I'm glad that we could do this. I know that you're not currently friends with John on any social media, but you have my number. If anytime you feel you need to reach out, and just call me. I'm gonna get you a T-shirt. I hope you like green. If not, oh, sorry. Somebody doesn't supervise me when I order T-shirts. And on the front of it, it's John saying we are that 3 a.m. friend, not just a 6 p.m. friend. I'm going to get that shirt to you. But I encourage you to reach out to John, get to know him. I think what we just did here, really incredible, and I think you can never have too many positive people. I also thank your dad for his insight. I appreciate it. I'm not good with names. I know you probably said it, but I just call you sir because I'm not good with names. But appreciate you joining in. So this is just like the part of the show where I just give everybody just one last little bit of. Earlier you said that sorry for rambling on. When we do a show like this, there is no rambling on. You're speaking from the heart. You're just like speaking with such. What's the word I'm looking for? It's all genuine, and so you never have to apologize for speaking from your heart. That's what we're trying to do, because somebody maybe 6 months down the road might be watching this, might be a 58-year-old, might be a 19-year-old, be like, hey, something that John Palmer or this young kid MJ went through, I can relate to. So you rambling is just speaking from the heart. So MJ, if you want to just go ahead and just give a final, signing or not signing off, but if you final note of how you feel or what you think or stuff like that.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna let my dad say something, but I wanted to say, first of all, thank you. And how I end off my thing is usually I learned from a great podcast from a family member of mine, Smoke Chance Booth, and his friends, Noriega. I learned something. It was called giving somebody their roses when they deserve. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of guys don't. I can't, necessarily give you your roses, but a lot of guys don't get their roses. You know what I'm saying? They don't get their credits until, sadly, until they're buried in their casket. And I like to give y'all your roses today and give a round of applause to y'all, you know what I'm saying, for being who you are and allowing yourself to be on this podcast and be very open. And one thing I say that my dad taught me when I was going through is a coward dies 1,000 deaths, but a hero dies but once. And I would say that y'all are heroes and stepping forward and being who you are today, being on this podcast, being fathers, being, uncles, maybe one day grandfathers, and being able to be open with today's world in 2024. And I give you your credits and I give you your roses. So thank you for having knowledge for knowledge on the podcast. I'll let my pop speak.
Appreciate you, sir.
Jeff, my name is Mike Senior, by the way.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I just want to thank you, Jeff. I want to thank you, John, for, giving my son the opportunity to share your platform. One of the things I want to close with is, like when you're going through things, you got to think of it as a butterfly didn't always start off as a butterfly. There was once a caterpillar. A caterpillar has to go through something, and they go through a cocoon, and then they turn into a butterfly. People see butterflies and be like, God damn, that's a pretty butterfly, but forget that same butterfly was once a caterpillar. So a lot of people are in their caterpillar stage. You got to give yourself enough time to blossom into that butterfly who you need to be to fly around this world and be appreciated for the butterfly. Another thing is I never let my situations dictate the outcome of my day. There's 24 hours to a day. So if me and MJ get into an argument right now at what time is it? At 8:13, I can reset. I can start my day over right now. 24 hours from right now is another day. And a lot of things that I tell kids is when they playing video games, if you have a bad game, you reset. And while you're playing the new game, you don't think about the last game. Just hit the reset button. always hit the reset button. It's always okay to start your day over. Mental. Don't let nothing rent no space in there that doesn't, you know what I mean? You like MJ says, I don't water bad or negative thoughts, which is sometimes harder. It's easier said than done.
Agreed.
I try to be mindful to where I don't water negative thoughts or allow myself to be in a negative space for long. It's not how you get into stuff, it's how you get out of stuff.
I like that.
100%. Actually what you just said, Mike Sr., brought me back to something that went through my mind earlier, Jeff, when you were kind of sharing your story, and it kind of might summarize, one of the points Mike Sr. just made was, before breakthroughs, there is brokenness. Amen. So, when we see that butterfly, that's the breakthrough of of what that caterpillar went through, the brokenness he went through as a caterpillar to get to that butterfly stage. So everybody is there. The big thing I always tell people is, you may be at chapter 2 or chapter 3 of your story, and all these other people are at chapter 45. Just don't compare yourself to where they are, because where you are at different stages of different things in your life, you never saw what their chapter 2 or their chapter 3 was. So a lot of people just see where people are today in life, or where they're portrayed, if they're on social media. So I think that kind of ties into mindset, that like Mike Sr. said, you have to reset. You have to be able to pull that plug. You have to be able to almost have a new mental state every day, and just live it with intentionality, like I was saying earlier.
Absolutely. Excellent points. I like when we everybody just has excellent points, because it's going to stay in my head. I like Mike Sr. I appreciate the butterfly analogy. I appreciate that. Sometimes it takes an individual to share a different way of looking at things. So I appreciate that. John, always appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate it. I appreciate you always just having my back, always sending me stuff every day about positivity, because I think every now and again we do need a different form of positivity, which you do, and I appreciate it. MJ, Knowledge for Knowledge. Everybody got to check out that podcast. I'm telling you, he's on every social media platform. You can't log on to one social media platform and not see Knowledge for Knowledge. MJ, appreciate you coming on our show. I know it takes a lot of courage and strength, and I'm glad that you trust John and myself for telling you that everything's going to be okay, that you didn't have anything to worry about. I appreciate you. I know you share some stuff. You guys are always welcome to come back on the show anytime. Same thing for you, Mike Sr. Appreciate you.
Like I said earlier, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you guys send me a text on what size shirt, t-shirt, sweatshirt, sweatpants, anything like that. I'm gonna send you guys a Trust the Process K for K shirt or whatever.
So John, he does all of his clothing himself.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And lazy me, I just log on to a website and I just tell somebody what I want, and then they ship them like 3 days later. But listen, this show is on Skype for 30 days in case you want to watch it, and you have my permission and to do editing, whatever you want with it. It'll take me a few days to really edit it, and do the intro and the outro. And I'll make sure that Knowledge for Knowledge is highlighted so everybody knows that to definitely give your podcast, which I think is awesome. I hope that your app takes off. I want to be part of it. I want to help whatever I can do, unless it's money. Well,
any help is appreciated.
Not whatever I can do. I want to help. I want to thank you, gentlemen. I know it takes away from stuff, but I think I'm glad that we could do this collaboration. It's for a cause, and I think that mental health is really important, and you should not be embarrassed. You're safe with all of us. So until next time, MJ, I'll keep you updated on upcoming shows. If you and your dad or you and your friends want to do another collaboration, we'll just keep on rocking this. You know, we're going to change the world.
Amen.
Absolutely. Let me know at any point in time. I'm always open for you.
All right. Hey, appreciate you guys. You guys have a great evening. I'm going to let you go. Mr. Palmer, thank you once again. Love you guys. Appreciate it. I'll edit it and upload it as soon as I can.
All right.
Absolutely.
God bless you,
Much
brother.
love.
All right. Thank you.
All right, sounds
Love
good.
you guys.
Have a good night, guys.
All right.
See you guys. Thank you
All right,
very
we'll see ya.
much.